J-Spot Jack Cheese, Cat Pack Comics, MCU Movie Review Week 10. It's time for the Winter Soldier. Back when I first saw this movie, it blew me away. It was probably, up there, probably 1-2 with Iron Man 3 for me. It still holds up for the most part. It's still really good. It's definitely, hands down, one of the best in the MCU. I don't think it held up quite as well for me as the Avengers and Iron Man 3. Watching those, I was still it was almost like watching them for the first time. And this one, there was just a tad bit of diminishing returns, but overall, still really good. I love the whole espionage aspect. I think that's a cool little subgenre that they explore. The obvious influences of 3 Days of the Condor and All the President's Men. Nothing super crazy in the story. It's still pretty basic. It's still a Marvel movie. So, you can tell who the bad guys are going to be for the most part. You know where the story's going to go. But just the fact that it's an espionage thing. It's it's S.H.I.E.L.D. is the bad guy. You got to, fight from within. Where it goes with it, where it ends up, it actually... I've said before, I like when these movies kind of have a purpose. It's not like Thor, The Dark World, where while it's fun, it is entirely pointless in the overall scheme of the MCU. You don't need it. This one actually kind of has some weight to it, with S.H.I.E.L.D. essentially kind of being dissolved. So that's cool. That's cool, definitely. I guess I didn't really think of this when I brought that up, but another thing it impacted was the fighting, I guess, at least on Cap's end, because I think this probably, even more than the Avengers, probably has, the best action, the best directed action, best, choreography, and just, it's almost like a trademark how they almost trademarked how Captain America fights in these, because it seems like every movie after this with him, he fights like this. You can see a marked difference between how Captain America fights in First Avenger and the Avengers and Winter Soldier and everything after. The hard hits, kicking dudes 50 feet, and the way that he uses his shield and stuff. And that's one of the big influences and lasting impacts of this movie. Not from a story side, but just directorially or technically or whatever. And that's good, because I fucking love the action in this movie. It's great. And that's surprising coming from, back then, from the Russo directors, who I knew from directing Community and Arrested Development, two of my favorite comedy shows of all time. I remember being pretty surprised when I heard that they were taking the reins, just because they didn't really seem like action directors to my knowledge. But then they obviously pulled it off very well, and I'm glad that they took the reins for the Infinity War movies. And I'm looking forward to it, because I like Civil War too. That was also them. Plotting and pacing and story structure, all that is pretty solid. The villain is technically Robert Redford as Alexander Pierce, but it's a little different, because he's not a menacing. He's just kind of it's a different kind of villain thing. He has backstory, sort of. He kind of has it's cool that he's connected with them and stuff, but he might be a tad flat. But when you get to the Winter Soldier, he's it's okay that he's flat, because you know who Bucky is. You have that backstory, and the Winter Soldier's just he was brainwashed, and you don't really need to know much else about him. But I think the way that he's shot and just everything. It's mostly in the camera work, because not that Sebastian Stan isn't like is a bad actor or anything. I think he's fine, but just with the mask on for most of the movie and minimal dialogue, there's not much for him. It seems like it's mostly in choreography and cinematography and direction and all that, and they do a very good job of making him a pretty menacing foil to Captain America. Did you guys something to see? I also noticed watching back this time, because it started because my wife pointed out, like, why would he say that when Black Widow says something about being in a bikini, or like, I haven't been in a bikini and he's like, oh, but you look good in one. She's like, why would he say that? Then I kind of started paying more attention to them in this movie, and like, despite the whole like, oh, you're gonna call blah blah blah, I wonder if they were like starting to hint at like, oh, if people like this, maybe we could do like a Black Widow and Captain America get together thing. There's nothing like, oh, they like jump away from an explosion and land on each other, and like their faces are inches from each other and they almost kill. There's nothing like that. It's more subtle, but like it does seem like it's kind of like sowing the seeds of like potential relationship stuff, and that could just be me, but I thought it was interesting. I guess I'm just not a big fan of Sharon Carter, and especially, oh, that's kind of icky, that whole thing. Yeah, everybody knows. But it's also, thankfully, not like a big part of Captain. Like, his romance is not like a big part of his thing, which is, kind of another cool change of pace. Is there's like a little bit of like flirtation with romantic stuff in the movies, but well, in the first one there it's pretty big, but in this, in Civil War, it's just kind of like a little subplotty type thing, but it's nice to have one that doesn't really have a romantic relationship thing. Just a nice change of pace when you think about it. I like that it brings back Zola in, his more well-known computerized, well, a version of his computerized self. And I like that, like, despite how like grounded the movie is for the most part, they have this computer Nazi in it, and it's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, and they pull it off pretty well. I kind of wish that this wasn't where he died, and like, I know that they could. I always figured he could be like, he just sends his consciousness to some other computer system that, who knows, he gets on somehow. Whatever, it's computers. But I feel like, especially at this point in the MCU, he's probably dead. He's probably gone. I wish it was a little bit more of this. Like, I think what would have been really cool is maybe do the Robert Redford reveal a little earlier, and then the reveal at the end is that it's like Zola is like in his computer form, obviously. Like, Zola is the true mastermind. Like, I think that would have been a really cool. That actually probably would have surprised me. Like I said, like, you can see Robert Redford being the bad guy a million miles away, and because I remember being like, oh, cool, Zola's, that's a cool little cameo scene. But like, imagine if he was the main bad guy. It'd be fucking awesome. Then he could die. It just felt like it was a little too little. I just wish there was a little more for him. Definitely, when it came out, like, another just notch in the Phase 2 belt of just being how much better it is than Phase 1. Even Thor: The Dark World, like, it's not great, but like, compared to Phase 1, better than the first Thor. It's better than Iron Man 2. It's better than first Captain America. Like, it's better than the bulk of, well, I'd say about half of Phase 1. It's better than. So I think that's it for the most part. I'm probably forgetting stuff. I always do. I always fucking do. I'm gonna say Captain America, the Winter Soldier is great. That top 3 that I have on my list now is a pretty solid 3 for me. Those top 3 are considerably better than everything else underneath them, in my eyes. It'll probably get shifted. I can think of a couple movies I might put above. I know I like Age of Ultron more than most people. We'll see where that lands. But yeah, I'm happy with that top 3. And if it didn't change, I would be happy with it. Like, I'm okay. Like, those are 3 of the best MCU movies, period. Yeah, that's it. Next week is Guardians of the Galaxy. So, like I said, not a big fan of it, but only saw it once, and I'm genuinely looking forward to giving it another shot. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Garth, have you been there the whole time?